All right, this is Brian Marvick with BP Kitchen Equipment, and we have here a 2020 Bizerba GSP HDW slicer. This stands for the year 2020, and this is the model number. Although it says GSP HD, it is in fact an HDW because of this. A little more on this later, but this is a weighing platter. So you can see when I take off the sharpener here, it's going to go back to 0.05. Let's actually tear that because nothing's on it. And then whenever you add weight, it registers here. We'll explain a little bit more about that later, but for the time being, let's just go over some brief stuff. This slicer is overall it's in pretty good shape. See the blade cover really, or the gauge plate really doesn't have a lot of marring on it. Most of the marring is usually on the corners of the slicer. You can see some nicks right here going down. A little bit right there. Not awesome much elsewhere. This this blade cover is in fact used, but it's in pretty good shape. Ding up there. Some light scratches here. This is where you'll mainly be cutting, and this is in pretty good shape. Same thing. It's really just cosmetic defects we're looking at right now. Interesting. We grade everything based off of cosmetics. So whenever we put on a brand new wing platter or a brand new blade cover, we try to match it with a slicer that is also in really good condition. The only real cosmetic issue with the slicer is this. This is why it's not in better condition. It's just a bit of delamination going on the operator screen, but it doesn't actually affect its functionality at all. You can see here that all these buttons can still be used. It's really just a cosmetic defect. All the way up, all the way down, enter. See the weight changing. So it really isn't a problem. It's just a cosmetic effect. Let me see here. Because this is an HDW, this is a automatic slicer with an added little extra to it. But I'll just show you real quick the manual method. So currently we're in manual mode, and then we're just going to set this target amount of slices to infinite, okay? And let's put that over there. There we go. So whenever it's in manual mode, this slicer will not operate without you pushing or pulling it. One of the benefits to it is it's technically an assisted manual. So just one little push back, it kind of does the job. One little push forward, it does the job as well. You can go either the full stroke length, or you can just do mini stroke lengths if you're cutting something short. Let's see here. So it's however you want to operate it. One of the benefits to the automatics is the fact that it has that little assistance. It just helps if somebody's sitting on a slicer for a long part of the day. It'll just help reduce fatigue. Really not that important. Companies like Jimmy John's only have automatic slicers for that reason though. However, the main benefit to these machines is its automatic mode. So this is manual over here, see the indicator, and now we're in automatic. So we're gonna have it in automatic mode to a target amount of slices. So you can see we did 5 slices right there, as opposed to weight. Let's have a full stroke length on the slowest speed, just for demonstration. So the real benefit to automatics is the fact that it does this. The fact that you can put on your product in the carriage and you can walk away while the machine does the work for you. Just to go over the settings real quick, we're at the full stroke length on the slowest speed. Let's do the lowest stroke length at the lowest speed. You can see here I'm going to go up to medium right now, and let's go up to long. So you can see the differences in the stroke length. The reason why that's important is, let's say you have a large turkey roast that takes up the majority of the space, you want to do the long stroke length. Say you have a small amount of vegetables you're trying to cut that only does that much, you'll want to do the short stroke length. It's just to be more effective with time and to actually cut the item if it's a large piece. Additionally to the stroke length, we have the speed. This Lazy Susan is going to get a little wild, so I'll just quickly do this. As you can see, whenever you do the faster stroke length, the machine just moves faster. Whenever you buy this, just put it on a stable service. Don't put it on the Lazy Susan, and it'll work just fine. Let's talk about this mode real quick. So currently we're in target slice mode. So let's put it to 10 and see what happens. So this number, the one below the 10, is the amount that you're slicing. So the top is the target, the bottom one is the exact amount. Once this reaches 10, this machine's going to stop on its own. So this should be the last. There you go. These are preset values. They just change the target value. It can be infinite if you want. You can also change these numbers. So say you want to do, I don't know, 12 instead of 80, and you want it to be on the far right, you can set that up. Let's put it back to 80 for the time being. That's pretty straightforward. Let's talk about the weight version. The weight version is really interesting. Here are the target weights. They're the same as the target slice values. They can be changed, so you want to do a full pound. Whoops. You can set that up to be a full pound. But what this will do is this will slice until it reaches a full pound. Just for an example, in the form of a sharpener, and it stops. These are pretty straightforward. They're just set amounts. Let's put this back to 5. These are pretty straightforward. They're just set amounts you can default them to. The infinite setting is what I really like. The infinite setting means that it's not going to just cut infinitely. It's going to cut until nothing else falls on top of the slicer, no more weight. I personally really like that as a refurbisher, because what that means is instead of setting it on automatic mode and then just walking away like you would a normal slicer, this will continue slicing. Let's say you put on a turkey roast on top, you want to cut the whole thing, and you forget about it until, I don't know, the next day. Let's say that was possible. This mode would keep on slicing, it would not stop. The benefit to this mode here is that it's currently on an infinite pound sign, right? I'm gonna add something else. Let's just put this on top. After some amount of time, this is actually going to stop cutting because it's registering that no more weight is being added to it. I really like this mode for that reason. It might be a little bit out of whack. There. I really like this mode for that reason, because you can just set a pound of turkey, set a pound of ham, whatever it is that you're cutting. Press the infinite pound mode and walk away, and a couple slices. I think the target amount is 3. After 3 slices of no more material falling onto the plate, it'll just automatically stop. I really like that. It reduces the amount you actually have to maintain these things, which ultimately just saves you money. Let's see here. So you might have not known that about the HDWs, but there you go. There are some other people that sell these, so why would you buy these from BP Kitchen Equipment? Well, here at BP Kitchen Equipment, we don't actually just sell anything that's just used, tested, and wiped down, but we actually thoroughly refurbish everything that we sell. I've been doing these Bizerba slicers for coming on 2 or 3 years at this point. I do know these slicers inside and out. I replace parts in them. I make my own parts for them. Whenever these bottom plastic pieces are cracked, for example, sometimes I actually 3D print a replacement part and put it on. Recently we had a slicer that was missing some spacers that go right behind this aluminum piece. I 3D print those, manufacture them. We actually bought replacement screws because the flathead screws on these things suck. We don't like them, so we just bought replacements that are much easier to use with. We really do just we want to sell good products. We want to sell a product that's going to last a long time for you. You're not going to need any service guy to come out and fix it. We warranty all of our stuff for 120 days, and we stand behind the work that we do. In terms of the actual work I do on the slicer, I classify it into mechanical and electrical. In mechanical, I lubricate everything that needs to be lubricated. For everything that needs to be lubricated with grease, I use OEM from Bizerba H1 food safe grease. For everything that needs to be oiled, such as this, I use OEM from Bizerba H1 food safe oil. Relatively important to keep everything lubricated. Just make sure that the machine will keep on working for you. Make sure that the dial turns well, that the mechanism for the automatic function works well. It's important for a number of reasons. I also make sure that the electrical works. With these machines, I actually update all of them. So you can see here that these green, it's the HMI is actually this board right here. I update the HMI software to the latest version. I also do the same for the motor control board. It's a large board that's underneath here. In addition to updating the software, I actually have the codes for the operator manual. So right in here, we're able to get you into the operator manual. You can set up the duration. You can set up the auto detect system, the key, the time if you want. For the service manual, we can get you into this as well. We can, let's see here, let's go to menu that matters. It's actually important. We can actually get you into the service components test, so you can actually do any testing you want of yourself. So you can see here that it's at the limit. I'm gonna crack it. It shows that the gauge plate is in fact open. And when we go all the way to the end, where the gauge plate is as far open as possible, it goes back to both. This is a bit technical, but it is important to get in here if you want to customize your slicer to your wants and needs. Yeah, I mean, I double check that the boards are working. I double check that they're going to continue to work for you for a while. And I just make sure that all these parts in here are just safe, ready to use, and will be a long-lasting solution for you. Something else we do is actually calibrate the safety mechanisms. So I was able to pull the carriage back, right? From Bizerba, the moment that the blade is exposed, you should not be able to pull the carriage back, like so. Whenever the carriage is back, this blade should be recessed. One of the issues that we see with used equipment is usually that the safety mechanisms go to calibration. For example, right about here, on most of the slicers that I get, I would have actually just cut myself because the blade might actually be, might be recessed behind the gauge plate here, but the blade will be showing up here. We calibrate this whole gauge plate to make sure that it will continue to be a safe system for you or your employees. The benefit to that is that whenever after a long day's work, you need to clean your slicer, right? It's easy to just pull this carriage back, come in here with a rag and clean everything up. And whenever you're cleaning the blade, it's also good to just have the rag and just clean it off like that. But yeah, we just make sure that the safety mechanisms are calibrated as it would be from Bizerba. For example, right now the blade is recessed, as we showed earlier, and this is green. The moment that the blade is exposed, this will flash red. And then the moment that the blade is back to being recessed, it will be green. We also calibrate these dials. So this actually correlates to a real number, not something arbitrary. So this should be at 2 millimeters. I go in here with a caliper and I make sure that it is in fact at 2 millimeters. That way when it's at 0, it is actually at 0. Another benefit to having this is that, say you're running your slicer right, automatic mode, it'll automatically shut off whenever it goes to 0. There's a lot of things that I could talk about these things. The last thing I will though is that we ship these slicers to you as sharp as they would be if you bought them brand new. Let's go into here. Forgot I left it in automatic mode. Let's just do this real quick. There we go. So I shipped them to you extremely sharp. Sharp enough to cut a sheet of paper. That's kind of my standard. There we go. That way, as you get it, you're not gonna have to sharpen it. You're gonna not have to purchase new blades that it has a nick in it or anything. But the slicer will be ready for you to use as you receive it. One of the last things that I'll talk about is actually what we do with our blades. I double check the entire circumference of the blade just to make sure that there isn't any nicks, there isn't any dings in it, to make it unusable for you. I sharpen it to factory spec. I also make sure that it has the right amount of use. So these blades come a millimeter away from the blade guard ring, this guy right here, and then Bizerba recommends that you replace them whenever the gap is 6 millimeters. I make sure that these blades have at least 66% of their lifespan left. So from that number, from 1 to 6 millimeter gap, I make sure that 66% of that 5 millimeters is still there. That way you're not going to purchase a slicer from me, realize it's out of tolerance and it's cutting like crap, but instead it's just going to be ready for you. And again, it'll last you quite a long time. Yeah, there's more that I could talk about, but I mean, we warranty our slicers, we stand behind our work. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you like. Something we'll also do with these slicers, this is the last thing that I'll mention, is we actually send you a video on how to operate them. I worked with Bizerba to create the video, and I'll send you a link to the download. Thank you very much. Hope you have a good day.